Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lunchtime with Demons. I'm Abella Caress, and I'm here with Ryan Stone as always. And we're so excited to do yet again another episode with you.
Morning, Bella. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Can you hear the roosters or no?
No, I'm not hearing him.
Okay. Well, I was really hoping that my mic would pick them up, but
That would be
there
great, right?
there's these there's like a couple roosters next door at the person's house next to me, and they're so loud in the morning. And then they have all these chickens and their chickens lay eggs in the morning too, and it's kind of cute. Like I love it.
That's cute considering your neighborhood.
I know it makes it sound like I feel like I'm in um Beauty and the Beast. Like I feel like I should just wake up and be like, little town, it's a quiet village. And it's not. It's I live in Kingston. It's not a quiet village. I live in the city. Well, not in New York City, but in I live in a city,
Yeah, town
a
definitely. And
town.
the houses are close, the yards are small. That's why, like, even when you said that, I'm like, is there enough yard for a chicken?
There is. I love it. Oh man. Well, here we go again. This is a more fluid episode, I think,
Flow with
where
us today.
flow with us today. Release your resistance to non-structure. Because there's not a ton of structure to today's episode. I think it's just us chatting about some things that are prompted by the divine, because I very heavily felt prompted to talk about a lot of things today by Lucifer. And so I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I am finishing my book Numos, and Numos falls under the category of ergodic literature. It's very fascinating. You can read it multiple ways. In some ways, it's a book of poetry. In some ways, it's sci-fi. In some ways, it's a psychological thriller. Um, in other ways, it's very literally a analyze the author and her own evolution as she writes this. And there's multiple POVs that you can read it through, and there's no chapters, but instead there's like three different perspectives of three different people that you can experience the entire book through. It's very, very strange. I
I'm
hate to
excited for that.
I I hate to use the word strange, but I'm strange and unusual and not, yeah, and I wouldn't, I can't be any other way. And um, I will say that as I've been editing and finishing, and my deadline to finish the book is the end of this month, so we're very close. It's the 27th, so I have a couple more days, and I'm at that finish line. I'm like staring at it, and it's really exciting. But some of these most recent poems that I wrote really hit me to the core, um, because they reflect a lot of what I'm going through in my own personal practice at this moment. And the last 3 months, starting in January, and I can't believe, oh my gosh, we're at April. Wow. In January, I started a ritual. I did a ritual, and then I started a process with my spirit team on myself. And like a Pokemon, I'm evolving, as Asmodeus likes to say. And but this may be one of the most intense evolutions I think that I've ever experienced in my practice. And I haven't been allowed to open up about it. And I'm still technically not allowed to open up about it. So I think it's interesting that Lucifer was like, you're allowed to talk about this, but here's a very short leash on what you're allowed to talk about. But I think it's the overarching um, experience that he wants me to talk about, which is the idea of the self, the idea of evolution in one's practice and in one's life and journey. And this sort of like need for external validation or even just external sounding boards, and how and different perspectives on this, different ways we can look at things, because I've not been allowed to share my journey even with my closest friends, truly. And if you don't believe me, ask them. Right, Ryan, have you heard from me?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
like you can ask Ryan, ask Brittany, ask him, like ask some of my closest friends whether or not I've been able to discuss anything with them or even share how I feel about things. I can't. It's very literally an ask of the divine. And I've been really in this alone. And the only places I've been able to share my own emotions has been at the gym.
Great
Literally.
place to work out those emotions, I'll tell
It's
you that.
it's the only place, and with them and in meditation. And so it was scary at first and isolating, and then now it's like it's just a part of my experience moving forward, and it's because I have a different perspective on it. And so I think he wants me to share some of this. Not all of it is going to resonate. Not all of it is going to be something that you kind of take home and like apply right now. But I do think that there's parts of it that might make your situation a little easier.
Yeah, I definitely think that, I think as we go through these things and I think we share them with one another, it takes them and makes them a little bit more normalized, knowing that other people go through these, no matter how long you've been doing this. Because I do think a lot of this work goes in kind of cycles of certain things, and those themes, albeit different each time you go through those themes reoccur.
Yep, they do. We're never really alone,
Not at
ever.
all.
We, I'm sure you've heard this before, we're the universe experiencing itself. And we are in many ways, at least that's my UPG here. We very much are. And so how can you be alone? Um, but that doesn't mean that when the mind and the body says that it is experiencing loneliness, that 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 is what we're feeling. And so we have to allow ourselves to experience it. Um, and we have this tendency to really want to seek comfort. We love comfort. Um, we seek it in people, places, things. And recently, one of the lessons that I learned a couple weeks ago was that people are not homes, and you can't make people homes. And I loved when Belial said that to me, but I didn't really understand it yet. I didn't know how to integrate that until I would say this week. I was writing a poem and it just kind of dawned on me what he was actually trying to say there. And it made me think about our natural response to things that make us uncomfortable, to resistance. And this idea of like fight, flight, freeze, fawn. But there's also friend. And when we're having these experiences of fight, flight, freeze, fawn, if we're not careful, we then friend seeking a trauma bond. And it is another trauma response. But it's really difficult one to catch because it goes under the radar and it will trap you in a pattern or cycle very quickly. And you won't be able to get your way out of it very easily because you have someone else perpetuating the pattern. You've
Sometimes,
surrounded yourself. Sorry.
yeah. Oh no, go ahead. I was just say, I think sometimes that's that weird pull that people feel like, oh, I feel this deep connection to you. And unfortunately, it can be more so on that side of more of a trauma bond that you're feeling as that weird undercurrent that's now connected you to this individual, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, one of the lines in one of my poems in Numos is you're not authentic. Your fear is seeking new friends.
I love that.
We sometimes see this is very much true for me. I think for a very long time, I really wanted to belong. I still do. I think it's natural. It's supernatural for, not supernatural, but it's very natural for us to want to belong, for us to want to be on the in crowd or to be seen as someone that is, you know, um, on the in. And I've never been. Like, I've never been. And even this is ironic. I feel like if you're listening here and you went to high school with me and you're like, bitch, please, like you were one of the most popular girls in school, let me illuminate something for you. I don't care how it looked from the outside. At a party, I very literally overheard someone say, we only like her because we like her house and her mother lets us do whatever we want. There was a lot of things that about my life that have been transactional. Like people have always kept me around because of what I can give them. And I think it started at a very young age. My mother and father, I was a major oops, like major oops. Like my dad's not even from America. Like he was, like here trying to like make something of himself in America from Dominican Republic and met my mother at a nightclub where my mother was using a fake ID to get in. And he was older and did not know that she was lying about her age and then had like a wham bam thank you ma'am situation and I was my mother's mistake. And at a young age, like I very much felt the weight of that. Like I felt the weight of being this, I don't want to say burden because nobody directly to my face was like, you are a burden. But I think that there's like indirect sort of passive ways of feeling like a burden. You know what I mean? Like I do these things for you. I'm going to work and busting my ass for you. Like, those comments that get made where it's like, I do this and I do this and I do that. And everyone's doing this for you. It's all for you. And it's like, I just want you to hang out with me. I literally just want you to sit on the couch and like watch a Disney movie with me so I can stop talking to the ghost in the corner. Like I am so lonely. And I was a very lonely kid. Um, anyway, so like here's some Bella lore, I guess, that you didn't expect, but whatever. Um, and so throughout most of my life, like I think been a mirror for people's experience. Like I was a mirror for my mother's experience. You know what I mean? Like I was a mirror for her sort of like teenage years and like all the things that she had to do to like become the woman that she is to be the mother, and to do all these things. She had to fucking step up because she was pregnant and had to do this. And you know what I mean? I was the catalyst for that. And I think every time she looked at me, I was that mirror of like, this is my kid, but also like I did all these things. Like I am the mirror of her accomplishments. And I don't think it's intentional. This is the thing. I don't think anyone goes around being like, I'm going to use this person as a mirror. That sounds great. Nobody is that much of an asshole. We use people as mirrors unintentionally. So I'm not saying anyone here is going around being a dick, but I think it wasn't just my mom. It was kind of everyone in my life. I was a mirror for them. You know, like I had a really interesting relationship with every single fucking person. And like I was so scared to talk about this openly because I'm like, well, you shouldn't share your family baggage. Why? I don't care. It's my baggage. It's my baggage. This is my
Part of
fucking
my story.
it's my fucking story. It's my fucking life. And so like if you don't want to hear it, then don't fucking listen. But you don't get to silence my story. It's my experience. And this is my experience. And I think it's important because it is who makes me the person that is sitting in front of you. Like for my father, I was this white kid. He called me a white kid, like I was this white kid that he had. And I was this reminder of this thing that he did, this person that he fucked, and I was a reminder of the child support that he paid and that he had obligations to. I was an obligation and I felt it. I felt it, but I didn't know what it was. And this is the thing, a child doesn't know what these things are. They don't know what these things are. They just know that you don't want to be around them. It's really
Oh,
simple. I mean, I know it's sad. It is sad. I'm not here spilling this lore for pity
yeah.
at all. I'm here because it is one who makes me today, but two, it is very literally the obstacles that I am facing at 40. So to discredit or disregard what happened to you as a child will fuck you in the ass with no lube at 40 if you are not careful. And nobody wants that, you know? Nobody
I get it.
wants that.
I
You
totally get
have
it.
to look at these things. And so when I was a teenager and I had this sort of like awakening of like, ooh, I have my own like autonomy, I'm going to use it. I used it poorly, really bad by being friends with terrible people. But my thing was, I wanted to give. I wanted to give. If I could just pour myself and my heart and whatever resources I had, then people would want me. They wouldn't leave me. They would see value in me. And I wouldn't understand why it wasn't working, why people would then leave. I'd be like, I don't get it. I've done so much. I've done so much. And it dawned on me that, like, one, you cannot make a person a home. You can never find your worth or comfort or validation, true validation, in another container. It's all about the container in which you live in. This idea that your body is a temple, that's not just like a fun saying that we put on like meditation like posters. It is the very literal house in which your spirit resides. And if you're not safe there, if that temple does not feel that it is worthy of existing all by itself in isolation, if it doesn't feel safe, comfortable, and loved, you will seek it elsewhere and you will never find it. And you will keep coming up short and you'll wonder why people leave you, why their loyalties are frail, why people abandon you, why it's just fuck. And it's been one of the hardest lessons I have ever faced and really faced in my life. It's wild.
It is really wild. You know what's interesting? My mom still to this day talks about for me as a child of how I was so happily alone. I had my like I had like this bag or whatever of toys, and no matter where we would go, I was happily to be playing on my own and left completely to my own. And I think even as a child, my mom kind of got that way. And I had a similar way that, I was a complete oops. My mom was 20 in college and, met a guy at a nightclub and he was gone before we were born, me and my brother. And my grandparents probably spent the first 4 or 5 years doing most of the raising, because my mom was still working and going to college.
Yeah, we have very similar stories. We lived upstairs from my grandparents as well. And so I got to be very, very close with my grandparents.
Yeah, my grandmother was probably more like a second mom. So by the
Oh,
time she passed when I was like 8 or 9, I felt more like I was losing a mom at that point.
yeah. I very much felt like growing up, my mom was like a sister, like a big sister, and like my grandma was more like my mom. And I think that might sound hurtful to some people. It's not. It was just that,
The dynamic.
the dynamic felt like that. And then later, my mom started to feel like a mom. Like as I was an adult, she started to feel more like a mom. So it's fascinating how, and then my grandma started to like transition into this sort of like grandma role. But that didn't happen until I was older, and I think that's really cool too because then it shows like how these so-called roles can shift and change as you age with people in your family. Um,
Yeah, completely. That's another thing too, like you were talking about. I realized for myself probably about 3 or 4 years ago that I had this like issue with that I grew up too fast, that
oh
I was kind of like required to be an adult way earlier than I needed to be. And after growing and coming to some realization, and the epiphany was is that my abilities actually allowed me to not let my mom hide anything from me. And so even though, she was struggling or things like that, every time it would happen, I would know what was going on. And so she couldn't keep me from knowing what was going on in the household or what was happening. So I think I also put myself in that role by knowing more than I should as a kid because of the abilities that I have to really read people like so deeply. And so I think at some point she kind of gave in and just stopped trying to keep me out and just kind of let me become a parent in the household.
Hmm. Well, yeah. Yeah. I don't know about my abilities as a kid. I think that they're all really blended for me to know because unfortunately there was a very unhealthy situation with my childhood when it comes to like my stepfather that I grew up with. But um I think it's tough for me to know where my abilities are as a child versus where hypervigilance and pattern recognition kind of come in. I think it was a little bit of all of it,
Oh
honestly.
yeah, sure,
Like,
completely.
yeah, I think for me it was definitely like I have to pay attention to this person's patterns because if I don't, he's 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 unpredictable and he does things when no one's around and
Yeah.
no one believes me. Till this day, I still struggle to be believed in with certain members of my family. I don't give a fuck if you believe me. Let me make that real fucking clear. I don't care if you believe me. I don't care if you want to look at me and say that, like, those things didn't happen. You can. It's my lived experience. I'm the fucking victim of it. And no one is going to take that away from me. You can victim blame me all day. I don't care. You really need to look at yourself for victim blaming me. But it happens. Unfortunately, it happens a lot in families. People don't want to, for some fucking reason, they don't want to hold the person that did the thing accountable. They want to blame the victim, even though they have no idea what actually happened because they weren't there. Because the person that was doing things to me did it when no one was around, you know? Um, anyway, so it's unfortunate because like yes, I had and in my abilities have always been the way that they are. Like I cannot tell you that there's a time in my life where I made them stronger. Like they are what they are. Um but I do think what helped well, I think what confused them as a child was that I had to be hypervigilant. I had to have a lot of pattern recognition. I had to observe externally of the people around me to make sure that I was safe and that I did not hit a live wire with a single fucking word. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
how bad it could be. Is like I could say one word that could hit that live wire and it's over. And that was most of my life until I was an adult. And then I had to unlearn that. But that's the thing, as an adult, like you're accountable for unlearning the bullshit, unlearning the things that you've been through and coming face to face with the truths of your situation and what you've went through. The truth is I was a child and I did not know any better. And anyone that that can look at a child and be like, well, they should know, like you shouldn't have had children. It's really simple. Like children don't know. They need to be taught how to function, how to regulate, how to experience emotion, how to experience fear, how to experience these things. And if they're not taught, then they're just flailing in the wind, and they're going to internalize everything that happens to them. They're going to want to blame someone. And the more that you, as an adult, allow those things to happen, the child just blames himself. And I spent most of my life blaming myself for other people's mistakes. And I don't hold these people like I don't care anymore. Like if they are sorry, I don't need an apology. I don't need any harm done to them. But I have to come to a place of reckoning with myself that like in these last, couple years has been hard. It's been hard, but like I think the biggest wound that like I was acting from throughout most of my life is just the just wanting to be wanted.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just I just wanted someone to want me. And I don't mean like what I can give them, what I can do, just wanting someone to want me in like my imperfections, wanting me and in my moments of weakness, the moments that I don't know anything, the silly things that I do, the weird things that I say, wanting someone to want to touch me, hold my hand, be around me, someone that, at a party behind my back would defend me. That idea was wild to me that someone could defend me because the amount of people I defend is wild. And then it hit me that like that's rare. It's like, wait, what? People aren't loyal? What do you mean? And then I found out that they really aren't. They'll drag your name through the fucking mud. Um, and I mean, I know what that's like, and I know why some people do that. I get it. But in truth, I wanted to be wanted in the simplest way. And the key to that is wanting yourself.
I agree. Finding that desire and love inside of yourself, I think really changes that dramatically. And I
Yeah.
think too, one of the other things that seems present for me was is that at some point, I think you can kind of re-victimize yourself by kind of living in some of those things too long and too far.
Hmm.
And being able to come to some kind of reckoning with them allows you to not make them go away, but it distances yourself in a place where you can view them as something that just happened.
Yeah. We are not like I like to use the comparison of us to trees a lot because trees are, they're kind of subject to their environment and they really only have the opportunity to decide how they feel about something. Like us, like we can only decide how we feel about something. And if trees were sentient, which I feel they are, they don't really get to like pick up and reroute somewhere because they're like, I don't really like this place. This doesn't feel right. We actually do get to do that. But I think that they kind of have to weather a lot of storms and we get to we have to weather a lot of storms in our environment. We get to decide how we feel. Um, but one thing that I think is really interesting about trees is that even if there's a nest sitting on a branch and it's filled with baby birds, if there was a baby bird that fell out of the nest and fell down and broke its neck and died, the tree may mourn that bird, but the tree is not going to then like refuse nutrients. It's not going to cut off its supply at the root. It's not going to break its limb to reach down and pick up the bird. It's not going to shake violently so all the other birds fall. It's going to continue to absorb nutrients. It's going to continue to communicate with the mycelium beneath the surface and communicate with the rest of the trees that are surrounding it. It's going to continue to uphold its limbs and withstand storms that approach. And it does so in order to protect the ecosystem in which it is designed to protect. And that does not mean that there's no mourning, there's no grief within its experience, but it recognizes that it has a larger job. And I think as humans, to recognize the larger job is important. I'm going to be really transparent, guys. I think Lucifer is absolutely starting to like take my body a little bit. So I'm just going to let him finish the statement. um, but I just wanted, he's okay with me sharing that he's taking over for a minute. But to recognize your place within the universe, to see yourself as a universe. There was a comment made earlier that we are the universe experiencing itself. Well, you then come here and interact with divinity. You allow yourself the opportunity for an awakening. You step into that awakening. You hold your hands out and say, I accept the difficulties. I accept the task at hand, and then step forth within the task. When you do that, and those seeds are sown and its first sprout begins to bloom, you then have a journey ahead of you. And that journey is going to seem predictable, but it does offer opportunity for unexpected change and choice. We are not trees. So you do have the ability to pick those roots up and change position. You have the ability to say, this is no longer acceptable. The way that I view things or see things is no longer acceptable, and I now need a different vantage point or perspective on this thing. And you are the vessel in which has very literally the only authority to say, I am going to do this thing for me. And when you do that, your reality then shifts and changes. Evolution of the self should feel isolating. It should feel isolating. The chrysalis is not clear for a reason. And not every pupil survives. And not every evolutionary trajectory gets finished. And that's because of free will. You have the choice at any moment to stop doing or fulfilling the changes that you set out to do. If you continue small things, small changes each day, making those tiny little adjustments, they add up. You break the pattern, you break the cycle that you were in. But you also have to break the internal thought pattern. It's not just the external thought pattern, it's the internal thought pattern. It is the internal subconscious decision that you have made upon the self that says, I am these things, I feel these ways, this is who I am, this is how I present, this is blank. Nothing is. Nothing is anything until you say it is. So if you are daring to call yourself sovereign and or authority of anything, be careful what you say is anything. Where in fact you live within a reality that at any point you can change. It's not us. It's not the divine coming in and changing it for you. It's you changing it. When you actively choose to change the container, we can then fill it. We help you by facilitating new gnosis, new consciousness, new code, new information that you already know. Your body, your mind, your spirit, they are one. They already have this information. You seek time as a linear experience, that it is one, it is two, it is three, and that it moves in a line. It does not. It moves in a circle. It is continuously moving in a fashion that just repeats itself until you stop it. And then you choose its path, whether you want it to move in a circle that goes downward or a circle that goes upward or a circle that goes to the side. But the line is what's going to keep you trapped by yourself. You yourself are your own worst enemy until you are not. Until you see every past evolution as an ally, actively leading you forward, actively coming to you filled with gratitude, saying, thank you for seeing the possibility in us and then taking steps towards that us. Becoming the higher self just means acknowledging that you already are. There is no becoming when you say that you are. It is a matter of claiming the sovereignty as much as it is being sovereign. It is a matter of the self. And so that feeling of isolation, that seeking comfort in another, it is temporary relief. That is it. Not every emotion, not every feeling, not every thought needs to be expressed. Sometimes they need to just be experienced and released. They don't need to be shared. Sometimes another can only hold what they're capable of holding, and it's not what you're capable of sharing. And then you have then overpoured information into their container, flooding their river, annihilating their river's banks. And you know how you know that? They respond to you in a way that just does not feel good on the system. Your entire nervous system goes, oh, that response, it doesn't resonate. And you end up saying something like, oh yeah, I know, I'll figure it out though. I'll figure it out. It'll make sense eventually. Because you know that what they said doesn't resonate. And it's not because they don't care. It's not because they didn't want to help you, but it's because they didn't have the capacity to hold what you said. You are not all moving at the same pace. You are not all entering your experience at the same point. And you don't all end up at the same vantage point either, where you can see things the same way. So when you share things with another, share from the self. I am experiencing blank. I am this. I am that. Share from a place of clarity. Allow others to be curious and wonder where you're at, what you're doing. Not everything needs to be understood. Come to a place where when you meet yourself, you find peace. And it's not as hard as it sounds. It's about finding the voice within you that has made the decision of who you are that is not your voice. The voice that says you're small, the voice that says that you can't, the voice that says that you're not, the voice that says that you won't. Whose voice is it? Is it your mother? Is it your father? Is it your friend? Is it the fear? Address it, hold it, feel the emotions, experience the emotions, release the emotions, and then move forward, making tiny, small changes towards becoming the container that can hold the things that you ask. Before you ask, you need to look in the mirror and say, is the identity that is staring back at me capable of holding the things that I am asking for? Because if the answer is no, then you are nothing but opportunity. An opportunity means possibility. And the day that you wake up and see yourself as a possibility for change, and then actively make that change, everything in your reality will be different and it will follow. He's backing up. Okay, he backed up. But as he was talking, I very literally had this moment where I thought about to this morning at Starbucks, I was getting my coffee and they were like, the guy in front of you paid. And I immediately burst into tears because nobody has ever done that for me before. And I was like,
Oh,
Lucifer, thank you. And it was like, he was like, this is the world that you live in because you lead every moment with gratitude. And so you are surrounded by gratitude. And that's something that took me months to build. But but I am building a container that can receive things and it's very, very cool. So what I can hear what he's saying because when I channel, I am never far. I don't trance channel. It's like I'm sitting on his lap and he's just talking and I'm like, oh, cool, 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 cool. And then like he's like, okay, you can talk again. That's how I channel. I don't know how other people channel. Live your life. I don't care how you channel. But um, it's true. What he's saying is very true. that the work that I've done on my personal, like the work that I'm doing with him is this work, that everything that he will, and more that he, but mostly what he explained. And I will say that like my entire reality is different because I don't let people in that I think are going to take from me or hurt my peace. And because of that, and really accepting who I am, I get free coffee.
It is amazing though
Miracles.
how the world changes around you when you make those changes and decisions for yourself.
It does. It will. I think a
I
lot of
see it all the
people,
time.
yeah, all the time. A lot of people don't see hope and reality in the same sentence. Like they don't see hope and reality as being something that can coexist because they haven't experienced it for themselves. But you hear stories all the time, right? Stories of miracles, stories of these incredible things happening to other people. And your natural thought is, well, that only happens to them. That doesn't happen for me. And that's what he's saying. You've created that narrative. You can break it. And when you do, you'll be shocked at what happens.
I agree. That's why I always say the stories that we tell ourselves are what makes our lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because all of them are just stories that we tell ourselves. I'm clumsy. I'm this. I'm that. And those are stories that you're telling yourself. And they come true because you are a creator in this universe.
And those are the same stories that created every pantheon, every religious text, everything that puts these gods in boxes. Every single thing that we have is created from somebody's pattern. And when you see
Exactly.
beyond it and you see beyond all of that, you can no longer subscribe to the boxes. You can no longer subscribe to the patterns. And you'll then meet yourself outside of that. And you'll be so shocked at who you meet. And you'll want to protect them.
It's even been amazing to me. Satan's put me in so many positions this year to meet so
Yeah.
many just people from different walks of life. And it has become to this point where now when I just meet people randomly, it's like meeting this microcosm of being for me and getting to peek into that universe when I see and just meet somebody.
He's really yeah, you've also been kind of going through it those
Yeah,
couple
yeah,
years.
yeah. Actually, I always love that there's always this very beautiful, interesting through point of similarity in very different ways that you and I, without like you said, we haven't been able to share a lot of what's been going on for us in our individual practices. And then to me, it's always so magical when we start to then share where we both have been,
Mhm.
and it just baffles me.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I've been having dreams about someone. Um, this, yeah, I don't know. That's all I can say. Um, but I feel like they're also having dreams about me. It sounds really weird. And I feel like I'm supposed to say this on the podcast, but if that's you, hi. And you should reach out. Please reach out. I told you to reach out in one of my dreams, and you haven't. It's really strange. I wrote a show called Onomatopoeia, and I don't know if you guys know this about me. If you don't, surprise. I'm a Jill of many trades, and I I'm a screenwriter and filmmaker, and I write books and I write poetry and I write a lot of fucking things and I do a lot of things. Thank you, neurodivergence. Um, Whatever. But one of the TV shows that I wrote is it's an anthology series called Onomatopoeia. It's copywritten, so don't try to steal my shit. Um, and it's a very unique show. But the first episode has a lot to do with dreams, and I've been dreaming about this episode, and I've been dreaming about this person almost like the character in the dream, but they're talking to me. And I'm like, are you talking to me in my dream or are you talking to me outside of my dream? Like, are you on Earth? And then, like, they're also saying, like, yeah. And I'm like, why are you not talking to me then, like on Earth? And they're like, I'm nervous to like, they literally said, like, I'm nervous to approach you. And so like I'm saying this on the podcast. If it's you, please don't be nervous. Please just talk to me. I'm also having the dreams. It's not weird. Reach out. That's what I'm gonna say. Because this reality is fucking bonkers. And to everyone else that's like, wow, she's absolutely delusional. I love this for her. You're not welcome on my Delulu train. Because yeah, you're right. I am, and I don't care. I like this way. I like living this way.
It's all a choice.
It is. It is. Well, thank you for doing this episode with me, as always, Ryan. And thank you, Lucifer, for coming
Yeah.
in.
Thank you, Lucifer, for joining us. I, funny enough, could feel it starting, and then you announced, and I was like, okay. Um,
He started to like take over, and I was like, can I tell them? Is that okay? And he was like, he literally in my head was like, it's not that obvious, is it? And I was like, oh, it's really obvious when you
it's
speak, but
obvious.
when
Your
I speak,
voice even changes. Like you have a very bouncy, like laughy tone, and when he speaks, it is a very like you're deepen a little bit. And I mean, you might be able to look at this and see it for yourself, but yeah, there's definitely a change in your voice and mannerisms.
I'll never watch this. Are you kidding me? I'd rather
I know you won't. I know you won't. You don't even listen to the podcast after we post
I
it.
no, I don't. And I don't listen to my channeled messages after I do them. Um, I just, especially if they're for other people, I feel like it's disrespectful. But I don't listen to them if I ever do anything for myself. I can't. I, I can't. It's bad enough that like most of my friends are like, who's talking to me right now? And I'm like, no, we just make similar facial expressions, me and Lucifer, because
Well, there is that too, right? Like
yeah,
you pick up those mannerisms by being around them. I mean, there's always that component I think we kind of end up being a lot like, especially the primary that we work with.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I don't know. Yeah, he was like, "Do you think they'll notice?" I was like, "I think they'll notice. I think it's pretty obvious." He was like, "Okay, you can say something."
And maybe, like I said, for me, because I've experienced it before, I can see more of it. But yeah, I definitely know there's a difference. So when it's full on like that.
Yeah, like when I'm with friends, like at home and stuff, or like when we're together, I don't announce it. I just let him say what he needs to say, and then he'll shut up, and then I'll jump in, and then
I was
he'll
to
jump
say
in
it's more like a tag team. I think when we're like friend grouping and
together.
whatnot, it's like
Yeah,
a little bit here and there, and then that's a little probably less dramatic than that. But yeah, definitely
yeah, but
aware
like
of it.
I was like on the podcast. I'm like, babes, I'm over here like, ah, la, la, like this, that, coffee, wee. And he's just like, I was like, you don't even use filler words. Like, I don't know how to, yeah, he's interesting. But I'm glad that he did that. I'm glad because like I've been working on all of this with him and it's been really hard and it can be very isolating. And so if you are kind of working on some of these like larger shifts and evolutionary shifts in your practice, I think like know that you're not crazy. It is hard and that it can be really isolating, but it's okay. It's because you're growing this person, you that feels safe and happy and whole with just you. And that's gonna be hard. That's not
I mean,
gonna be
think about
easy.
it too. When you're starting a seed, you kind of protect it. And, as it starts to sprout through the soil, a lot of times they put like a cover over it to give it some like protection from outside influences and things like that to minimize it. And that's kind of, I think, what maybe is a better way to think about that isolation is that it's not so much that nobody can know what's going on. It's that we want to kind of keep our streamline in continuity and not have other things getting in the way of
Yes.
it while you're focusing on it. So I know it
Yes.
seems isolating, but it's more like a protection of just movement and continuity in the new direction you're going.
Yes, it is not that you have bad friends. It's not that they don't like your friends and don't want you to share. It's not that you're like better than anybody and they're trying to keep you away because this is a special path for just you. No, it's just the work you're doing is really, really hard and it does need a little bit of a dome at first because you don't have strong limbs. You're just like flailing around trying to figure this out, and they really really need you to not have external influence and just their influence, so that way they can help you grow straight and like strong, so you can kind of weather some storms, and you can start talking about what you're going through and sharing it when you start to understand it a little bit more. And even then, like even right now, they're like, yeah, we can talk about this today, but then that's it. Like, okay.
There's a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, stop it. And I'm like, okay. And then they like put the little dome back over. Now I'm
Yeah.
like not under a dome. Now it's like I have a cone. It's like I'm a cat and they like
You have a
have a cone
terrarium?
on my head. Yeah. I have a little like cone in my head. And they're like, no, Bella, don't chew on that. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's like it's a process.
It is. It is a process. And yeah, like I said, yeah, think about it less isolating and more like just giving you time to grow.
Yes. Yes. So then you feel strong in what you know as as you kind of step into a new version of yourself. And let me be clear, no, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Nobody is entitled to past versions of you. So when you step into a new version of yourself and you act from that place and you're no longer acting from old wounds, and those people that expect you to sit in those old patterns and you stop it and you say like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to gossip about that. I don't want to really, I'm not comfortable with that. Or you just kind of end the conversation and they're like, you're different. You changed. They don't feel like you're my friend anymore. Okay. You say, okay, I know. You're right. I'm not comfortable with that anymore. Things have changed. Anyone that is not comfortable with your change is not your friend.
Got to grow together, and the
Yeah.
relationship's got to grow and change. I mean, that's just the way
People,
it works.
yes, people should grow and change. I mean, literally last night I was at the dungeon and I was looking at one of my friends who was like, it was a rope thing, and I was literally in the middle of being tied. Okay, like fully being tied. I was in the middle of having a rope harness on me, and um if the dom I'm working with is listening, hi. Thank you, it was fun. I was looking over at my friend and she had like a group of people around her, and this is someone that has like dealt with social anxiety in the past, and she had this group of people around her and she was like the center of attention in this group, and I just literally was like, yes girl, like fucking shine bright like a diamond. That song kept like playing in my head and I was like, look at her go. And I was like, she's the center of attention, she's the center of that group, she's like everyone is like orbiting her energy right now. And then like I felt the rope pull and I was like, "Ugh," and like got yanked back. I was like, oh shit, I'm paying attention to the wrong thing, but like I couldn't help myself, because that's the kind of friend you should be. You should see your friends grow and like break out of their shells or change their shells like little hermit crabs. And anytime you see your friend change a little hermit shell, you should be like, oh, I love your new shell, girl or bro or whatever. I love your new shell. Look at that. Even if it's too big on them, even if it doesn't fit right, even if they haven't decorated it yet, you should love their new shell because they felt strong enough and good enough to take that risk, and you should be supporting the people in your life. You should blah, blah, words. You should be supporting the risks that they take, because when the time comes that you take risks, the people around you should be doing that. And if they do not, then you need to rethink your circle.
I
Truly.
agree. That's why I
Yeah.
go so hard for all of my friends, like
Yeah.
when
Yeah. Yeah.
they post and
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If ugh, it's hard. It's hard out here, guys. It's hard out here in the Wild West. Oh, what isn't that a TikTok sound that's like I can't, or I don't know. I'm gonna fuck it up.
I feel
Something
like we're
about
close, but I don't know it well enough to try to even quote it and fuck it up.
yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say it because I'll age myself. Anyway, not that
Sorry.
anyone doesn't know how old I am. Everyone knows.
I came to mind with Will Smith's Wild Wild West when you said that, so I'll just take that hard.
Oh man, I forgot about that. That's a that's a that's a
That's a
thing.
fixation that was a thing at one point.
That is a thing. Will Smith is a thing. Um anyways, well, this was a lovely episode. I have to go pick up Juniper. But I love everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for hanging out with Lucifer. Thank you, Lucifer, for joining us. And hopefully you have a really solid week.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.